Your vet might unknowingly be spreading misinformation about pet nutrition. And guess what? It's not even their fault. Now, over the past few years, corporate interest has permeated every single aspect of the veterinary industry, and by extension, veterinarians. And so in this video, I am going to debunk the 7 common myths about nutrition that veterinarians are spreading. The first myth is that pet food companies write the rules. I mean, would you trust the pharmaceutical industry to teach your doctor how to prescribe drugs? Well, this is precisely what's been happening in the pet food industry. We have many reports, we have freedom of information requests, whereby we have seen that Hills and Royal Canin, among others, have been sponsoring veterinary schools. They have been putting money into these schools in exchange for certain favors or for vet schools to do things a certain way. Now, these companies write the very textbooks your veterinarian reads, and these textbooks focus heavily on processed diets, aka kibble. So in my opinion, this creates a very narrow scope for nutrition among pet parents, because then the only option you get presented at the vet is a veterinary prescription diet or for heavily processed foods. Point number 2 has to do with the complete and balanced myth. This is a bit of a fallacy and something that really does grind my gears, because in the fitness industry, the premise is the same. There isn't such a thing as a balanced diet every single day. If you get a bag of kibble, that bag of kibble is not going to be balanced 100%. It's not going to be a complete and balanced meal over time. If you think about it, one single recipe in one single bag of dog food cannot be, by definition, be complete and balanced. You yourself will need chicken, turkey, beef, a variety of meats, a variety of vegetables, a variety of carbohydrates as a person. So as a dog or as a cat, they need a variety of meats, they need a variety of different amino acid profiles, they need a variety of fiber, insoluble fiber, soluble fiber. They will need a plethora of different antioxidants and minerals and vitamins, which might come from fruit and veg if you do it properly. Now, for anyone who claims that this particular bag of food is complete and balanced forever, and that's the only thing your dog is going to need forever and ever, is an absolute liar. Because one bag of ultra processed dog food cannot contain all the vitamins and minerals they need forever. They aren't going to be getting the variety, they aren't going to be getting anything fresh in their diet, and so you cannot tell me, hand on heart, that you believe that one single bag of kibble is the complete and balance and the ultimate diet forever for your dog. So if you are feeding kibble, I would suggest you rotate the meats. I would suggest you rotate from chicken to beef to sardines to whatever the case might be, and try to give your dog as much variety as possible. I am not saying that kibble is bad. All I'm saying is that the myth of one single bag of dog food forever is redundant. It's an absolute fallacy. The third point has to do with chicken and rice anytime your dog has a bit of an icky tummy, and this actually has been done for cats as well. I have actually had people come into our branches and tell us that their vet has put their cat onto chicken and rice, cats being obligate carnivores. But anyway, whenever we talk about icky tummies, we cannot give our dogs rice. Rice cannot be digested properly or fully by your dog. They do not have enough enzymes to do so. It provides very little in terms of nutritional value, not to mention that your dog doesn't have the ability to chew rice. So if you give your dog rice, that rice is going to go absolutely everywhere because they cannot move their jaws sideways, which is a very clear indication, in my opinion, that you shouldn't be giving your dog rice because they aren't very well equipped to breaking it down or to chew it, for God's sake. So if your dog has a bit of an icky tummy, how about boiled chicken, some natural bone broth, maybe some steamed white fish, but none of this white rice malarkey. Dogs aren't very well equipped to breaking down rice, so let's not feed our dogs something that they aren't very well equipped to digest. If your dog has a bit of an icky tummy, maybe some pumpkin, pureed pumpkin for gut support, maybe some sort of soluble fiber like chia seeds, for example, and let's keep things as biologically appropriate as possible. And by the way, if you have always dreamed about making your own dog food, I can teach you how to do so for free. If you sign up to the newsletter down in the link, you will receive an email every single day for the next 10 days explaining how to make your own dog food step by step and without any hassle or any fuss. You can click in the link below. It's completely free and I hope you enjoy it. Point number 4 has to do with low-fat diets for pancreatitis or diabetes or whatever the case might be. And this comes from the belief that fat makes you fat, which is true or can be true. However, what we do not see a lot of vets talk about, or any vets talk about it for that matter, is excess calories in any form whatsoever. Let me tell you something. If you eat rice 5 times a day or pasta 5 times a day and you overconsume calories, even though rice and pasta are relatively low fat or very low fat indeed compared to beef, you are going to put weight on. So let me tell you something. If you give your dog a veterinary prescription diet with low fat, but it's high carb, and your dog overconsumes calories, those excess calories are going to turn into triglycerides, into fat in the liver. So instead of focusing on low-fat diets for pancreatitis, let's look at overall carbohydrates and try not to feed our dogs carb-heavy diets, because once again, if you overconsume pasta day in and day out, you are going to put weight on. And let me tell you something, veterinary prescription diets are very, very carb-heavy. And those excess carbohydrates are going to then transform into fat. So moderate fat and try to introduce some fresh foods. And if you're looking for low-fat diets, we have a couple seminars on diabetes, pancreatitis, and the best low-fat foods. The myth number 5 is that veterinary prescription diets are everything your dog needs. I mean, this is the age-old debate with regards to ingredients or nutrients. What do we want in our dog's food? Well, if you ask any human dietitian, if you ask any baby dietitian, for example, and they ask you to rate whether a food is suitable for a baby or not, they will not tell you to read or trust what the manufacturer is saying here regarding vitamins and minerals and iron and calcium and all this. What you will be asked to do is to rotate and to see what the ingredients say. And the ingredients here are wheat flour, sugar, palm oil, wheat starch, etc, etc. So I would stop here at sugar and palm oil, and I would understand that maybe this would be okay for a bit of a treat for my baby. Ideally, I wouldn't want to feed a baby any sugar whatsoever because it's ultra processed and we don't want to introduce sugar too soon in their diet. So if a bag of prescription dog food contains sugar or wheat gluten or rice, which for example have a very low leucine amount, which is an essential amino acid and something your dog's body absolutely needs, for example, then I am not going to feed it to my dog. In our opinion, these foods are marketed as medicine to justify the price and to justify you are doing the right thing for your dog. Do not sell them. We don't advocate for them and we do not recommend them because the ingredients in the food aren't good and the ingredients are everything that matters. Manufacturers cannot lie on the back of dog foods, and so you should read everything you give your dog. Myth number 6 has to do with grain-free diets. I mean, DCM, dilated cardiomyopathy in dogs, created an absolute panic without clear scientific evidence linking grain-free diets to heart issues or with heart issues, where a more compelling scientific argument would have been diets low in taurine and high in plant-based proteins, for example, as we discussed, rice or wheat gluten being very low in leucine and very low in essential amino acids or essential proteins for your dog. So as far as we're concerned, grain-free foods are absolutely fine, and there is currently a lawsuit that I'm not going to get into because I don't want to get into trouble, but you can read them on the internet. Are grain-free foods okay? You bet your top dollar they are. Point number 7 has to do with the myth that nutrition sometimes doesn't even get a mention. Veterinarians sometimes don't even discuss the impact on nutrition on your dog or cat. Vets oftentimes don't really discuss nutrition with pet parents. They are too focused on treatments, they are too focused on subscriptions, they are too focused on pharmacological interventions, they are too focused on this treatment, that treatment, this paracetamol, that ibuprofen, figuratively. What we cannot accept is for diet not to get a mention. I mean, last year I had a bit of a sciatica problem myself, and I went to 2 different doctors, and they both wanted me to be on recurring painkillers and recurring courses of steroids. And when I asked them, what do I need to change? What's the underlying cause? They sort of didn't really want to get into it, or they didn't really have an answer, or maybe they didn't really have the resources. Whatever the case might have been, I wanted the underlying cause for my sciatica. I didn't want to take anything that wasn't going to benefit me long term. As a short-term solution, okay, I can take a painkiller or 2. I am not against pharmacological interventions. I am absolutely for science, and I do understand science and I believe in science. What I want veterinarians to do is to give me possible solutions. I mean, as a diabetic, you wouldn't give anyone treatment after treatment after treatment if all they ate was McDonald's day in and day out, would you? You would try to cut down on the diet, you would discuss diet, you would do everything in your power to mend things naturally first, but maybe that way they would probably make a lot less money, and that would be counterproductive, wouldn't it? For them anyway. It'd be very good for you and it'd be very good for me, because we'd save a lot of money. Now let me be very, very clear. I am not vilifying vets. All I'm asking you to do is to understand the system and how things work. You have no idea how much money we save people whenever people listen to our advice, whenever people do as we suggest, whenever people get on board the bandwagon and they understand nutrition, they do visit the vet a lot less often than people who follow the system. All I'm saying to you is understand the system, because that's going to benefit your dog or cat. I mean, you should do research on your pet's food and see whether that's something you would want to feed them for the long term. Are you doing the right thing? Are you not doing the right thing? What is going on? And what I want you to answer in the comments is, what is the worst piece of advice a vet has given you over the years? Now, of course, not all vets are going to be like this. So if you find a good vet, do stick with them, do stick by them, and do treasure them, and be very polite to every single vet you encounter. Whether you agree with their advice or whether you disagree with the advice, all I want you to do is be polite, be respectful, and to be a good old human being. But hey, if you are mulling over what the best food is for your dog or cat, I would highly recommend you watch this video next.